My friend, it is too long since I've had a chance to see you. I know we've spoken a couple of times during the pandemic, but it's great to see you, man. How are you holding up through this pandemic, man?
Right, I know. What a crazy world we're living in.
Yeah.
It's good to see you too. I'm doing well for the most part. I mean, the first couple months, I feel like for so many of us, just kind of threw us for a loop. So I definitely struggled the first couple months, but I feel like I finally, a year into this new normal, kind of found my footing now. So um, yeah, I mean, I just try to throw myself creatively into music and to writing over the last year. I've written more music in the last year, not just for myself but for other artists than I ever have before. So it took a while to kind of find that rhythm, but I'm there now, which is it's that's a good feeling.
Uh, are you right? So this is being written, you're writing music during the pandemic. I'm just curious, has your style and stories changed because of the pandemic?
I mean, stories, yes. I mean, I've always kind of been someone that writes from personal experience. So I'm definitely writing about kind of this new world and how we're all kind of trying to find our footing, and then and just kind of the state of the world in so many ways, pandemic aside, but everything that's kind of happening down in the States with just like basic human rights and all of this stuff. It's definitely being reflected in the music. For sure. In terms of sound and genre, I mean, I've kind of been experimenting with that my entire career. I feel like every single record sounds, drastically different than the last. So, yeah, I'm having fun for sure, exploring new sounds and yeah, and new waves for sure.
What is going on with your vocals, man? Because when we get into talking about this song, because I had a chance to see the acoustic version that you posted. Where is this voice coming from, man? I'm going, wait a minute, this is his voice. I don't think I've ever heard your voice so rich ever. And I'm like, is he taking singing lessons? Is he like what is going on here?
I mean, so Jekyll Hyde Love, we kind of wrote at the very, very beginning of lockdown. So about a year ago, maybe 13 months ago, and that was kind of the start of this. It was one of the first songs that we wrote for this new project, and I knew kind of going into this new wave of music that I just wanted to kind of flip the script and kind of dive into, some sounds and some sonics that maybe would be a little bit more unexpected from me. I've always been known as, the piano ballad guy, and that served me really well. But I knew with my last project, Call the Doctor, that was going to kind of close that chapter for me. And the last song on that album was called The Last Song, and I wanted that to be intentional and just kind of let that be the end of that kind of era of my career. So I knew that diving into more of this R&B kind of soulful world, uh, that the vocal was going to have to reflect that. And I'm a classically trained singer, so this was, I think, the biggest exercise in this approach vocally was learning how to just lay back and relax and chill. I'm always someone who's been very vocal forward, and this was almost the opposite. The vocal is still, a huge part of the sound, but it's just like you said, I feel like there's just a richness and a warmth there that comes from just being laid back. And I attribute a lot of that to my producer, who literally would say, just Theo, just like literally pretend that you just smoked a joint and that you're sitting on your couch and you're recording this vocal now. Like it doesn't have to be so up front and center. So it was an exercise in just learning kind of the different colors and textures that my voice has to offer, and I'm super proud of kind of this new chill sound.
Did you know you had this sound in you? Because it's not just the low richness of the voice, but you end up hitting certain notes, and again, it's clean. It's not like
Right.
being broken up, because you know how some people try to do the and it's just like it's a mess. All right. It is like Man, somebody greased this thing and you just go up and then you go back down and there is not a stumble in it, period.
Ah, thank you. I mean, I've always kind of I feel like that's one thing, especially in music these days, that is sometimes lacking because there is such an emphasis on production these days. Sometimes the producer that you're working with ends up meaning more than the actual song or the actual artist. Production plays such a huge role. So I knew that for me, in order to really bring what I have to offer to the table, I've always been focused on just being a really, really great vocalist. It's always something that I've kind of, uh, wear as a badge of I'm just super proud of being a great singer. I don't feel like there's a lot of great singers out there anymore because there's so much emphasis on production that you don't have to be. Like that's just it's the way that music's changed, and there's a lot of great aspects of that. Uh, but I knew that when I recorded this music, no matter how many takes it took me in the studio, that when people come to see my show live, that they are going to get that damn vocal. So
Yeah.
it's been a lot, believe me. Like when we were creating this record, I was probably singing, no word of a lie, 8 to 10 hours a day, just making sure that it was going to be clean and polished. And now I
Amazing.
have no stages to play on. So yeah.
Yeah, well, hopefully we're gonna get that straight. Now, look, you mentioned the name of the song before. We're gonna go right back again. Please, again, give me the name of the single and the story concept behind it. What is the song about?
Okay, so the song's called Jekyll Hyde Love. Um, and I feel like it's just in my head it still is this beautiful love song, but it's kind of it's just really honest about the fact that often when we talk about love and relationships, we really only talk about that one side, and that's the Jekyll side, the side that's really great and really really pure, and that's awesome. But I feel like there is a side to love that is hard, and sometimes it hurts, and it's breaking, and it's dirty, and it's messy. And for me, I feel like those parts of a relationship and those parts of love aren't any less beautiful just because they're not so lovely to look at or so lovely to feel. I feel like when I look at my relationship, we've been together almost a decade. We're engaged now. We got engaged. Thank you. We got engaged last September, so we kind of got engaged right in the middle of this pandemic. Um, and the first couple months were so difficult because we weren't used to being home together all the time, on top of each other. We're both very, very independent people. He works on the front line, so I think his stress level went up. My career kind of stalled being a musician. I had so many plans for music releases, and then that kind of got pushed. So we were both stressed out for so many different reasons, and our relationship definitely kind of sheltered that weight a little bit. So we definitely had some lower patches, uh, and then it's just communication and taking the time to talk through it, that you find out that the things that you're battling really are kind of the things that draw you to each other. So it kind of was that whole, yeah, that two faces of the same man, and that's kind of where the concept came from, Jekyll Hyde Love.
One of the things I'm happy about, and it's funny because as we speak on this day, I had a chance to speak to Sean Jones, who's
Oh,
releasing
nice.
a new single, and it's a ballad. You are releasing a ballad, but you're doing it as we're leading into the summer periods. When I was young, you had the summer bop songs like what you did last year, but
Hmm.
not a lot of, but back in the day, you also had the ballad songs. I am so thrilled to see artists like yourselves releasing ballads as summer songs. Was that a conscious choice to do that?
I mean, I feel like the industry has shifted so much that, like, what is the hot summer song anymore? Like, I feel like with Spotify and with Apple Music and with everything that is the way that people are consuming music, there is always room for a good down and dirty ballad. I don't care if it's summer or not.
Yes.
People want just a nice, soulful ballad. There is always room at the music table for a ballad. Always.
No argument there, man. I'm just curious though. Um, it is a big difference. What was your mindset last year, and what was the single you released last year? We were talking about it. Summertime.
Last summer?
Yeah, it was springtime. It was actually around this time of the year, and I can't think of it right now because you had a long, great conversation about it.
Gosh, I mean, I feel like it wouldn't have been because the first single for this project was called Therapy, and it wasn't Therapy.
No,
So it would have been from the last project. Strangers, I think it was called. Was
there
it
you
called
go.
Strangers?
Yes.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
what
I
was
mean,
so musically, what was your mindset on that compared to your mindset with this? Because we are talking, 12, 13 months.
yeah. Um, I feel like Strangers was the first single off of Call the Doctor, and Call the Doctor was my diary album. It was the most personal, uh, cohesive kind of piece, 7 song little EP. And I fought tooth and nail for that project because it was just my my diary album. I had to write it for me. And I feel like every artist, sometimes every songwriter has those moments where, I knew that those songs were not going to be the most commercially successful. I knew that we would have very little to no playlisting. That just wasn't the type of music that it was. But I knew that it served a purpose. And for me, that purpose was to bookend that era of my career. I always have, I love working in trilogies. So Call the Doctor was the third album since Idol. And I knew, I think when I think trilogy, I think beginning, middle, and end. And I was like, that is the end. And now it's time to, I don't know if reinvention is the right word, but I feel like to allow myself to kind of follow this natural evolution and go back to my roots of music and the music that I was singing and the music that I was writing long before Canadian Idol was ever part of my picture. And that's what I've done with this wave of new music, is kind of just diving into my old influences. Like, I loved, and I'm still so heavily influenced by Tracy Chapman. She's incredible to me, her songwriting style, and just going back to those influences, those really old school R&B. Like, R&B, I feel like in the 90s was where it was at. Craig David, even some old school Lenny Kravitz. So this was my jam. And it's nice to kind of finally be at a place in my career where I get to release the kind of music that I've always really wanted to do.
Any chance that there's going to be an EP or an album following this? And if so, could this be on vinyl?
I mean, I hope so. Like I said, I love working in trilogies. So we're releasing all of this new music as trilogies. Trilogy 1 came out. Jekyll Hyde Love is the first song from Trilogy 2. We have Trilogy 3 planned for the fall of this year. And then ideally, I would love to repackage Trilogy 1, 2, and 3 with a couple extra songs as a full length album. Getting that on vinyl would be amazing. I mean, I kind of just forayed into vinyl world a couple years ago. And for people that like still raise questions about it, you cannot beat that audio quality. You cannot. It's so good. So yeah, I mean, to hear my stuff on vinyl would be so rad.
It's fun. I always keep thinking about, and no disrespect to the new school, I would love to see new school just trying to drop the needle on a vinyl
Right?
record. They would like lose it. Like, This is
Yeah,
doesn't work. I just want to hit the button. That's all I want to do is hit the button. I'm
exactly.
just curious though. Do you ever think back about the Idol days? Because of course I was there in the audience. I was actually every show I was there. In fact, from the
Yeah,
beginning of the series to the end of the series, I was always there. Do you think back on it, and do you think back about the experience that you went through on the show?
yeah. I mean, 100%. It still is, in the grand scheme of my life, it was a big moment. In the grand scheme of my career, it was a big moment. But for me, also, at the end of the day, it was 12 years ago, and I have changed so much as a person. I feel like I've evolved so much as an artist. So I look back on the experience with mostly fond memories, but I'm also really stoked to kind of have put in the work and paid my dues, so to speak, in the industry, and kind of be standing on my own outside of that veneer.
I hope somebody does a documentary on it and just catching up with all of you who have been part of it. I'm just curious though, man, if we could jump into the hot tub time machine and go back to the day when you were going to do your audition as you're sitting there in that crowd, and if I can get you of today to go sit to next to you of back then, what advice would you give you back then to everything that you know now?
Ooh, I feel like I would say, um, it's for it's such a hard question for me for so many ways, because the idol experience for me personally was huge. I had just come out of the closet to, very conservative Christian parents. My entire world back home in Alberta was very conservative, very Christian, which for me at the time was so toxic. And I was trying to, come to terms with who I was and learn to love who I was. And Idol gave me that space. Idol was that safe space for me to do it. So personally, it was, an incredible experience. Professionally and musically, I would tell, the Theo who was just about to audition, get out of here. Uh, get get a job, save your money, and just move your own ass to Toronto and build your own connections. I feel like professionally, outside of getting maybe my big toe into the door of the industry, I feel like in many ways it's been a disservice.
You know what, man? It's a tough thing to do, and not everybody has a great experience going through it. Even the winners of American Idol and stuff, they've told stories. I'm trying to think of, and I can't think of his name, who I had interviewed once, who was a winner of American Idol. And I remember saying to him, and I apologize, I can't think of his name right now,
No
but
worries.
I remember asking him, what's the one thing that you've learned that you didn't know about the music business? He said, always make sure you read your contract twice.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. Exactly.
Oh my goodness. Any shows are going to be happening with you throughout the summer as we go through 2021? Are we seeing any virtual or drive-ins or anything like that?
Yeah, I mean, I've been trying to do virtual concerts. I just did Super Crawl about maybe a month ago out of Hamilton, right before we got locked down again, and that was amazing. But I'm doing monthly virtual concerts myself, just from my own home studio. I set them up over Zoom. Zoom I really like because you can actually see your audience back, so at least there's still some kind of connection there. But I do them monthly. So, and it's interesting. The first couple, I feel like we're definitely kind of finding my footing now, but I love it, and the audience seems to be really enjoying it too. So, if there's one thing that I feel like the pandemic has really instilled in us is how important music and the arts are. more than ever. I mean, we are consuming more music and more television and more movies and more books and all of this stuff than we ever have before. And these industries are just taking such a hard hit. So yeah, hook me or look me up on social media. Come to a Zoom show. They're a lot of fun.
And where do we go social media wise? Where do you go to follow?
Uh, Instagram, Twitter, Facebook, everything is Theo Tams music. So TikTok as well. I'm now one of those guys on TikTok.
Okay, so I gotta look to see if you put up a dance move up there on TikTok, man.
No dance moves, but you will 100% get to know my dog very well. My dog is way more famous than me on TikTok. Let me tell you that.
Yeah, I'll make sure I do that. Look, before we wrap this up, can you give us some spiritual words of encouragement? Because a lot of people are still hurting. A lot of people are still going through a lot, even though we're getting our vaccines and whatever. You know, some people don't believe in it, some people do, but they're still feeling the pain of the last 13, 14 months. Any words of encouragement, please?
Oh gosh, for me, I just feel like this is a time to just, reset and allow yourself to feel everything. There is no handbook on how to get through a pandemic. I really believe that there's no right way to do it. If you're feeling angry and stressed out, that's valid. And if you are one of the people that were able to adjust and adapt really quickly, that's amazing too. I think the key right now is just be really, really gentle with yourself and take it one day at a time. I think that's all we got.
My brother, thank you so much for this interview. Congratulations on the engagement.
Thank
I find
you.
out now. Jeez. Hey,
I know.
Well, before we go, just very quickly, how did all of it happen? Where did you guys do this? Like, how did this happen?
Okay, so we've been together almost, this summer will be 10 years. So when we got engaged, it was a couple months after our 9-year anniversary. And I've been thinking about it for a while, probably, 6-7 years in. And we're very, very, and like I said, in some ways we're extremely similar. In other ways, we're very, very different people. So I know that if he were to propose to me, it would have been this very big, grandiose, super romantic thing. That's just who he is. Not that I'm not romantic, but I'm just a little bit more chill about things. So we just spent the day in Kensington Market, and we did a bunch of shopping, and we picked up a bunch of groceries and nice cheeses and stuff to take home. And we were going to have this great dinner, this barbecue. And we stopped on a couple patios, and we had decided earlier on that we weren't going to do rings. So I knew that pressure was gone. I didn't have to worry about finding one or carrying one or losing one or anything like that. And so we were sitting on this really great patio, and I went to the bathroom, and I kind of, as I was leaving the bathroom, caught my eye in the mirror, and I was just like, okay, I was like, I think this is it. Like, go do it. You love him. And it was very spontaneous. So I just went back to the table, and I said, over the past 9 years, I have never fought for anything more than I have fought for us. And you've done the same. And let's continue, fighting for each other for the rest of our lives. And he thankfully said yes. And yeah, now we have wedding plans to do.
Man, I am so happy for the both of you. Congratulations. And what a place to do it. Kensington Market, to me, is truly what represents what Toronto is in every aspect that you can think of. That's really the cultural place to be. Absolutely. Congratulations, man. So happy for you. Congrats on the music. Looking forward to everything you're doing in the future. We said this last year that we were going to try to get together for like lunch, dinner, something like that. That invitation is still open when things open up, because I'd love to meet your fiance too. Just so happy for you guys, man.
I would love that. Let's connect on a patio when they open up.
Sounds good. Take care. Be safe.